Well, I hope everyone is rested and ready to dive into the second day of this retreat, Forging Our Future Together, Meeting Urban and Rural Needs to Build a Stronger Region. We chose the theme of this year's retreat for three primary reasons. One, we want to assure that we at the Institute remain consistent with the original vision of IOP's regional role as defined in 1989. Two, to understand from our elected leaders, civic leaders, what these regional issues are by understanding them for what is happening in the lives of Pennsylvania's urban and rural populations. And three, to promote you all to have a dialogue and begin to form a mutual understanding about what our communities have in common, where they are different, and the paths we can take to solve these very real issues and challenges in the lives of people across Pennsylvania. There are over 50 government officials with us during this retreat, a combination of state legislative leadership, members of the General Assembly's research teams, county elected officials, and local government leaders. Another 150 people have been here representing regional foundations, nonprofits, business, and university leadership and researchers. We have folks here from the entire western corridor of Pennsylvania, and some from the central part of the state. The high level of interest in our retreat this year is a promising indicator of the importance of the topic of bridging the urban and rural divide. I think it's important for me to provide you all with a brief recap of some of yesterday's highlights, especially for those of you who were not here yesterday. So first, we heard from Dr. Parnell, who provided us with some sobering demographic statistics. He reviewed the significant overall population decline in our region and the important role that immigration has played and can play in growing our economy, both urban and rural alike. Dr. Parnell also reminded us of how old we are, which was a little harsh for someone who just turned the big 50. But this has broad implications for our healthcare system and for our minority communities who have had disproportionately lower wages and savings. He discussed the increasing number of white men in our region who are no longer in the workforce or pursuing post-secondary education, and how that is impacting life expectancy in many of our rural communities. And he ended with emphasizing the necessity of developing a glass-half-full entrepreneurial mindset to develop collaborative and intentional policymaking that diversifies the supply chain to create jobs and assist small businesses while viewing aging as an economic engine. Our regional dialogues were robust. Family-sustaining wages were a common theme, affordable housing, the needs for public safety to be more broadly defined as crisis intervention, and a greater awareness of how race impacts public policy across Pennsylvania. Senators Scarnati, Bartolotta, Commissioner Abramovich, and Dr. Spector emphasized the value of place and why we remain in our rural communities. They called for broadband access for education and business development, access to health care, and equitable access to quality post-secondary education. Our final speaker, Dr. Jay Shambaugh from the Hamilton Project at Brookings, gave an interesting presentation of the Vitality Index and how it can be used to inform policy at the county and state level. He also underscored that life expectancy has gone back 4 decades with the loss of 5 years. He conveyed how high school graduation rates, entrepreneurial activity, and patent development are key indicators of areas with the greatest vitality. He left us with several policy recommendations that included subsidizing employment within the nonprofit sector to transition people into the workforce, address public education, and the wide incarceration rates. The discussion we had yesterday spelled out the needs of our region. Having conversations on how to solve those issues seems to be common sense, but we live in different times now. We live in a time when stereotypes and partisanship stifle civil discussion and inflame distrust across our communities. According to Darrell West, author of Divided Politics, Divided Nation, the growing political divide between urban and rural America and the hyperpartisanship that colors it is challenging our democracy. West states that unless we learn to bridge these divisions and forge a future together, it will be impossible to maintain a functioning democracy and actually solve the problems facing our country. This situation is precisely why the Institute of Politics exists. We will maintain our role as a nonpartisan convener, and we can address these issues together. The region has a very deep history of doing so. I believe that we all have an opportunity to set a national example of bipartisanship together. We do not have to fall into the partisan trap of ineffectiveness. Your being here shows that you believe this also.